Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric, man. How are you doing? How was Halloween? And how do you feel about the Braves? Joking.
You mean the Indians?
Sorry, Indians. Did I say Braves?
It's all tribal.
Yeah, it is, because I've seen the Braves choke, too.
Well,
never mind.
They didn't choke, I don't think. They're the comeback, the two comebacks from 5-1 in the fifth, tying it up, and then even coming back once their spirits were apparently broken. Extra innings, down 8-6. They even scored another run. So I would not call that choking.
No,
on the other hand, it is perhaps
choking.
by definition, if you lose 3 in a row, choking. But the way they went about it was not in a chokistic manner. How do I feel about it? It sucks. It really, it's it's laying in the gutter and it's rolling up and down. It's throwing up on itself.
Oh, jeez, to get graphic with it.
That's how I feel about
it.
But I don't hate the team. I'm actually not even, this is rare, mad at the team. I'm sad, but I'm not mad because I think they absolutely squeezed everything they possibly could out of what they had. If you know the history, you know the fact that they're 2 of their 3 top starting pitchers, and starting pitching was what it was supposed to be all about for them.
Yeah,
we're out. We're not available.
Wow. So yeah, you're right. They were kind of like a one-legged man in a bucket kicking contest.
They really were. So everyone, including me, all the geniuses out there said they gotta win this quickly. In 4 or 5.
Put them away.
Because they're going to run out of steam, and they just don't have the troops.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. But
really
then again, the Cubs, they have a rabid fan base. Hey, by the way, we actually have a third person with us right now tonight.
No.
We do. We have Dr. Clarissa Cole with us. And, of course, it is the first Thursday of the month, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have Clarissa hang out with us, banter with us a little bit, because we just love to hear her voice. We love to talk to her. She's a world-famous, world-renowned forensic psychologist. Everybody knows and loves her. In fact, you are more loved than we are on the show, to be honest with you. People go, when's that Clarissa coming back? She'll be here. Don't worry, guys. Come on, relax. But tonight we're having a special night. You thought Halloween was over. No, we're going to scare the hell out of you. Don't worry. We are going to actually profile. You've seen her profile, H.H. Holmes, at Geen. We've talked about BTK killer. We've talked about all these real-world killers. But tonight we're diving into Hollywood headlong. That's right. 2 of the most notorious serial killers from the silver screen will be, profiled as if they're real killers. Killing now and active, giving the complete Dr. Clarissa Cole workup. Clarissa, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I am so glad Halloween is not quite over.
No, we got one more. Halloween's, it's not going to be over until next Monday. I think there should be a whole week. There should be a whole week long dedicated when it falls on a Monday, or weekday for that matter. The weekend after should be considered Halloween as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Christmas gets like 3 months.
It does. I mean, right now they're probably playing Christmas music somewhere.
Yep.
We talked about this last year because we cover holiday traditions, especially last year. We were really deep into it. We had a whole series on Halloween, and then we had a whole series leading of like weird traditions and creepy weird stuff and strange things associated with Christmas. And one of the things that I learned in all my research is, officially, if you go by the church, and then it's actually carried out in some countries like the Philippines, there's really is 2 full months of Christmas. It's mid-November through mid-January.
Wow.
And that's official, man. That is on the books. So imagine truly celebrating Christmas for 2 full months. I think it would be exhausting.
It is exhausting. It really is, because think about it now. We don't even hardly mention Thanksgiving. How often do you guys really hear about Thanksgiving? Really? Not much. You might see the special Charlie Brown on or whatever, or eat the turkey, but Thanksgiving doesn't get the love it deserves. Generally speaking, retail speaking, pretty much the day Halloween's over is the day Christmas begins.
Oh, I mean, it's before that in terms of stocking. You know, you go to the stores and they have the Christmas stuff in there. Some of them have Christmas stuff in September.
Isn't that nuts, though? Right, Clarissa? Isn't that crazy? I mean, what did you do for Halloween, by the way?
Oh, no, it was epic, because it always is. Here, I feel like I should explain very quickly. My neighborhood, when I first moved in, there is a Hollywood makeup artist that lives across the street.
Oh.
But he's not just any Hollywood makeup artist. He does horror films.
No way! Is he really notable?
The last movie he did was with Eric Roberts, so not A-list, but not,
Okay.
I thought you
were say Tom Savini. And I would say, get that phone over there. Let's get him on air now.
Let's bust that out.
Oh man, he's such a good makeup artist, and last year at Halloween he started doing all this zombie stuff in his yard, and the guy across the street, he was digging holes in September, like these deep holes, and I thought to myself, well, no, I thought, what is he doing, and so just on a walk with the dogs. My boyfriend actually, was going past his house, and he said, "Hey, neighbor, what you doing?" And the neighbor smiles and looks up at him holding a shovel and says, "I'm digging a hole to hell."
Wow! I would have looked up and said, "It's your grave. I'm digging your grave."
There was much laughter until there was a red glow coming from within the hole.
They did have flames, and this year the makeup artist across the way had the Purge theme.
Really? See, now, allegedly, Sunday night was supposed to be the real Purge. Did you guys hear about that at all?
No.
Did you hear that the crazy, kooky clowns that have been scaring everybody were going to have a Purge? And
no way.
That was the legend, or at least the hobnob around was, did you hear the clowns are going to purge? I had a clown hunting license and everything. None of them showed up. I was disappointed.
That is very disappointing.
I was waiting.
We actually did Halloween on the actual day in our neighborhood. There was probably around 200 kids.
Wow, that's a lot of kids.
They come from everywhere. Our neighborhood's kind of known for doing Halloween, but then this will refresh both of you. Then when Christmas rolls around, nobody cares.
Really? No one even cares at all. Christmas shows up. Who cares? Halloween's over. Let's just call it a day.
A famous, not to say infamous or notorious house that's not too far from where we live. It's even further out a little bit into the sticks away from the Cleveland area. But it's very well known, and because it's on TV, they put it on the news every year, and they do an astonishing amount for Halloween. Really scary, creepy stuff, fun stuff too, kind of more the traditional vintage Halloween, but then also creepy, gory, spooky stuff also. And what you do is, because of the nature of their driveway and the shape of their property, they run a series of cars right through their property, and you come in on one end and you go out on the other end. And of course, they ask for a donation if you feel like it. They don't pressure you too hard, but you can tell it's a lot of time and money going into stuff. But they do just as much, if anything more, for Christmas. So it really is kind of the yin-yang at that place.
Wow. Man, that's cool, though. That is cool. Hey, did either one of you, I don't know, Eric and I, we talked about this, and this has been all the hubbub in my email anyway, asking your take on The Walking Dead. Was it too violent? Did you watch it by chance? The Walking Dead season premiere?
Clarissa. I have read articles on it. I read articles on it. I did not watch it because I would have to start at the beginning, and I have not. So I don't follow it, but I read some articles on it, and wow, did it stir up quite a war.
Yeah, a lot of folks is curious your opinion on has, TV gone too far, and, in your thoughts and feelings, and, is the violence almost escalating to a fever pitch?
Well, the idea that I was getting from it, from everything that I've read, and what I think about that is I don't know, this is going to sound terrible, but I don't know if it's going to matter. And the reason I say that is because when you start killing off lots and lots of main characters, and the story starts getting weaker and weaker in favor of the violence, people aren't relating to the characters anymore, so the emotion isn't really there, meaning that the violence doesn't have really the same impact either.
True.
So I think that The Walking Dead's making a mistake in that sense.
I think you're right. I do believe you're right. I mean, it's anyhow, we did cover it, and of course, everyone was screaming, yelling, "Oh my God, it was so graphic and violent!" But we won't beat that horse because we want to draw flies. I'm just curious your 2-second take on whether things have gotten a little out of hand, and I think you're absolutely correct. I think once you dehumanize the characters, the violence doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I think the reason there was so much outcry was we really did care about those characters.
Well, those particular ones, yeah. Except for Abraham. Who really cared about him?
Well, he was a lower key kind of guy, but he'd been around a while, and he had sort of, I think he'd grown on a lot of people.
He was like a fungus.
Secondary batch that they picked up, what was it, last season or even the season before?
Like a batch they find on the side of the road. Hey, there's another batch. Let's bring him in.
He was certainly the most beloved, and he was an important character, I think.
Sure.
So, sure. But I certainly agree with that concept. What was really interesting to me, though, is we've now had a second episode this season, right? So we had that last Sunday, and that was perhaps the most bloodless episode they've ever had.
Yeah, it was pretty mundane.
It was completely in the other direction.
It was very
They were doing
slow.
their world building. We're getting to we're learning about the kingdom and the freaky king and his freaky tiger, Ezekiel and Shiva, and so it was. I thought it was interesting and very involving. And we were basically focused on Carol and Morgan, because they're the ones who are there at this place, the kingdom. And Carol's gone through so much emotionally. She's kind of flip-flopped back and forth between hyper-violent and a total pacifist. And right now she's in pacifist mode.
Yeah, she's like Sybil. You just never know what you're going to get.
She really is.
You have no
Wild
idea.
mood swings. Typical woman. Kidding.
Oh, yeah. I like that kitty at the end. Kidding. Don't send me a mail. I love you all.
I'm saying. No, I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, or however you're supposed to say that on the internet. I'm sick of it. Those cliches make my face hurt.
They do make me hurt as well. Okay, real news here before we jump into the profiling of everybody's two favorite Hollywood serial killers. Have you guys been following the news from Iowa? The two police officers killed.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that horrible? Now, evidently, investigators believe that Scott Michael Green, 46, shot. Basically, these officers were in their car minding their own business, and Des Moines, Iowa, and he shot two of them, and they weren't together. It was two different policemen, rather. I was trying to see whether one was a detective, and no, it was not. Police Sergeant Anthony Troy was killed, and then he went on to kill another officer at 1 a.m. Authorities, he just kind of turned himself into a DNR officer, of all people. What do you think, Clarissa? I mean, that's just a crazy... I mean, I know you've been following it. Has there been any reasoning that you've heard why he did it? Because that's one thing that has everyone scratching their head. Why did he do it?
I mean, it's definitely over whatever the police represented to him. Mm-hmm. Since they weren't known to him, they weren't doing anything he considered wrong. So it's whatever the police represent to him, and it could be the police themselves, or it just could be authority in general. But my guess is that it would be somebody that, as a psychologist, I would say was decompensating in his life, meaning that he was probably slowly falling apart, and there would have been some sort of a trigger event. It could have been a custody battle where he lost his kids. It could be a patient that is off of his meds and having, violent ideas floating around in his head. But something set him off. The good news to me is that he did turn himself in, because most of the time these end up as standoffs.
Yeah, generally they do. I was waiting for a statement of some kind from him, like, this is why I did it. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, whatever dumb reason, whether it's to stick it to the man or whatever. But that never came. They never released any kind of statement going, this is the reason why he did what he did. Like the ones in Dallas were shot, of course, we all know that story. Not because the Black Lives Matter movement, because, it was a part of it, but not because of it. It was a rogue gunman that gunned down, I want to say 6 in Dallas, 6 police officers. And that was a revenge statement is what that was.
It totally was. He was there to make a statement, whereas with this guy, I'm guessing, honestly, I do think he's probably mentally ill, and that's probably why there is not a statement.
It sure seems that way.
So why did you switch to degree dry spray? Not having to wait.
I love these websites that pop audio up on you when you're trying to read a story. I love those. They're so great. Okay, Clarissa, we are going to profile 2 of the worst killers, or 2 of the, of Hollywood lore. And tell us your thoughts now. Before we reveal who they are. We were talking off air that you were diving into who these people are and their personalities, but you were taken aback by how rich and deep some go to write backstories on these people.
Who knew, man? No, seriously, I had no idea. Because I'm in the true crime world, which has it has an underbelly in several ways, right? Because you've got the killers, and then you've got sort of their fans, I guess.
Oh yeah. You got the the groupies.
Aficionados.
Yeah, the groupies of the I think Richard Ramirez had tons of groupies, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, Scott Peterson too. That's sort of a phenomenon. I didn't realize. Yes, I didn't realize that fictional murderers would have that same following, and boy, was I wrong.
So, what did you find when you were digging in there?
Oh my goodness! So, I'm doing research on who would be somebody that I would profile. Who are the best ones that are the juiciest psychologically, and so I was looking up all of these different horror icon villains, and there are backstories. There are sites dedicated to writing backstories. There are people that get tattoos from scenes from the movies, and this is pretty common.
Well, like a killer like Jason Voorhees, for instance, you wouldn't think would have much of a backstory. He drowned as a kid, his mother goes nuts, and he comes back from the dead and avenges her death and his death. I mean, but like you said, when you dig into it, it's like these people have such vivid imaginations to write these things alive almost. Like they're living, breathing people.
They have whole websites dedicated to, if there isn't a lot in the story, in the movie, they try to piece together what they think they can. Like a line from this movie, or a line a director said in an interview. He said this, so this must mean this.
Yeah.
Like, wow, they probably don't go to that level of understanding about their significant other. I can't
probably
even
not. Probably not. They probably know them better than they know their wives' girlfriends. Wow, that's scary. What do you think, Eric? That's nuts.
Well, I think what's really interesting, I've noticed the same thing coming from a different direction. And I'm deep into social media, and of course we'll be talking about the paranormal news from the America's Most Haunted Twitter feed. We're also, all of us are deep into Facebook, but then I also do Pinterest just because everything is so visual, so it's fun to have a place to just put just the pictures. And so I'm always looking, and of course I'm looking at the more or less paranormal, in the broadest sense, horror, paranormal.
And Pinterest? They have
on
that,
Pinterest.
They have that on
yes.
Pinterest? Wow.
Oh, that is a significant subset. Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Halloween is huge as a holiday, and all the decorations and just anything to do with Halloween.
So it's not all candle making and making soups on Pinterest.
It is not.
They actually have a dark side.
Although it is, get this. It's amazing to me. Pinterest is 80% female.
Wow.
80%.
Jeez.
But there's a lot of creepy women, I'm telling you.
I was going to say.
They are into this stuff.
If I was a single guy, I might go hang out Pinterest, but now that you say that's creepy, I don't advise anyone to go there.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and it takes less time and effort because all you got to do is you're just scrolling through all these pictures, and if you like it, you put it up on yours, and if people like it, then they.
So you have a whole Pinterest community, don't you?
Whole Pinterest community.
Really,
yep.
I didn't even know about this community.
8,000 followers on Pinterest, which doesn't sound like a lot compared to 440,000 or whatever.
Well, sure, but they're all women. I'm sure your followers, at least 80% of them.
Well, I'm guessing of mine it's less than 80% just because of the nature of it.
When do you start writing for Better Housekeeping? Or
but it may be 70%. Anyway, here's my point. When I'm scrolling through all these pictures, anything horror related, anything paranormal, it's just like my Google alerts. You put in a bunch of search terms, and then that's what pops up on your home feed. Okay, and anyone I follow, of course, obviously too, kind of similar to Facebook in that.
That sounds like stalking. I'm following you.
Well, in a sense, it is. There's no question about it.
Who needs Twitter? I've been following you for years.
So when I scroll through image after image after image, dozens and dozens and dozens that I look at every day, a very high percentage. Of course, this is skewed by my interest and the search terms I put in, but nonetheless, a high percentage of these are kind of fan-based because they're not the original. They're not from the films. They're not posters. They're fan-created artwork, in essence, from any number of sources.
Sure.
That are of these various film serial killers. And and villains and horror icons. So you'll see lots of them where they put them together. So they've created in their minds this community of these fictional horror icons, and they interact. We've seen a little bit of it in the movies themselves, where Jason and I don't know, who did Jason go after? Who did they fight? Freddy
versus Jason. Hello.
And Predator versus
Alien.
Alien.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on, get with it now. You got to get into your horror.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch all that. So I will watch the first and maybe second in a series, and if that second one has deteriorated markedly from the first, I'm done. I've seen the first couple Saws. I haven't watched the rest of them. I've seen maybe a third of there's 11 Halloween movies. I've probably seen
I've seen every single one of them at least 12 times.
Oh, I haven't. Because they just get worse and worse.
It all depends on your view of it. Do you mean
emotionally? Back to my point, and then I'll shut up. Shut up. My point is, it is very clear that these people have a very strong emotional attachment to these worst of the worst, in objective terms, horror villains. And they put them together in communities. Like they
live together.
Really touching picture. You guys have probably seen it. Where all the who's the one who died? Wes Craven, right?
Yes.
Wes Craven. So all of his most iconic characters are gathered together, and they're like holding hands or have their arms around each other,
Kumbaya,
and they're standing at his graveside mourning him.
Yes.
And I just thought it was so weird, twisted, and touching all at the same time.
It touched you in a twisted way, is what you're saying.
It's just bizarre.
Oh, come on.
All I'm really doing, ultimately, with a lot of circumnavigation circumlocution, is I'm agreeing with Clarissa that it's amazing how much emotion they invest in these characters, and it's odder still when they're horror when they're killers. They're people who hate people.
I gotta ask Clarissa, who's worse, theoretically, the mythical creature killers or the real ones that are out there? Who would you least want to run into?
I least want to run into the real ones, only because the mythical ones, even though they have like superpowers, because they do, and they can come back from the dead a bunch of times, they do seem to be drawn to a specific type of victim.
They profile their victims.
Yeah, I don't think I'm it.
No, but you are a redhead, and you are attractive. So I would imagine if there were one to be after you, it would definitely be Freddy Krueger.
Oh, there you go. That's possible.
Because I've noticed that in those movies. In those movies, right, Eric? In the Freddy Krueger films, he primarily targets younger, good-looking women. Am I right? You don't see ugly women in their dreams. No, he doesn't bother them.
No one cares.
No one cares about the ugly ones. You know, kill all those you want. No one cares.
Yeah,
I'm horrible. I'm sorry.
That dude is sexist.
He is. He's the Donald Trump of the serial killer world. She isn't good enough looking.
Burnt-faced, child-molesting neighborhood killed by the neighbor's guy. Boy, oh boy. He's sexist.
Well, he is Freddy.
But he's also ageist, and I am way too old now.
Oh,
I feel totally safe.
Oh, well, Yeah, no, let's not go that far. You're a young girl yet. No, I'm kidding, of course.
You gotta be like in high school, just out of high school.
That is true. That is true. That is probably why, the movies are more geared towards the teen. Those ones, the teen thriller. But no, when we come back, of course, we're going to leave for break here in about 2 minutes, and we will unveil who she chose. And I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. One of them I kind of saw coming down Broadway, but the other one really threw me for a loop because I'd forgotten about this character. And I find it now that you picked him and you talked about him, oh my God, it makes perfect sense because he might have been, of all the ones you could pick, the most intelligent.
I hope so. I hope people feel the same. I very much like that one.
Because really, quite honestly, to be a serial killer in the movies, they almost show them to be superhuman intelligent to do the elaborate things that they do, like the traps or this or that no one in this world would ever think about doing. Like, look at the movie 7.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I should have profiled him. I did not. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
But I mean,
too late.
Who would do all that?
Wasn't that Kevin Spacey?
That was, and boy, did he ever play that role.
Oh, is he creepy?
Oh, and a little fun fact is Kevin Spacey was not billed in any of the advertisement or any of the posters to that movie as an actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did not want to ruin it.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yep, he would not allow himself to be billed pre-show. The only time that you saw him was in the closing credits of the movie.
Well, he's
very cool.
Super creepy a few times, especially kind of earlier in his career. So certainly,
he looks creepy anyway. You know what I mean?
He does, but he's actually looked perhaps less creepy with age, or maybe it's just the roles he's playing because now he's such a big star, so he can play kind of whatever he wants. Sure. He was pretty creepy still. I'm just thinking as you were saying that. He was still pretty creepy in Fred Claus. That was he was a creepy character. But back in the 90s, his other, besides 7, the other one that was, oh my, creepy as hell, was The Usual Suspects.
Yes, Kaiser Sose. Yes, absolutely. Great movie. A
lot of creepiness going on there.
We got to run a break. When we come back, we're going to unveil who Dr. Clarissa Cole chose to profile from Hollywood.
Your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At Ace, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at Ace, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. Ace,
the helpful place.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
The most violent animated film of the year, Martin Scorsese's delightful cartoon classic, You're a Good Fella, Charlie Brown. With Joe Pesci as that lovable round-headed kid, Charlie Brown.
Hey, you lousy fucking piece of shit!
And Robert De Niro as Linus. Hey, you guys, come on, your friends here. Lighten up, Charlie.
Oh, you too, Linus!
Hey, Charlie Brown, I'll hold the football for you.
Oh, yeah? Well, you too!
You're a Good Fella, Charlie Brown. Now showing on a double bill with Nightmare on Sesame Street.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
You're listening to After Hours AM, the best in alternative talk radio. You got a question for our guest tonight? Email that to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Feeling social? Join the After Hours AM, America's Most Haunted group on Facebook. The coolest Facebook group anywhere. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is the beautiful and talented Dr. Clarissa Cole and the master of all things macabre,
Eric Olsen.
And Erica, ladies first, Well, anyhow, we have Clarissa Cole with us, of course, and she is a fan favorite of the show. And we're doing something, as I said earlier, top of the show, a little bit different. We're going to be profiling, she is rather, going to be giving two mythical serial killers from Hollywood. From your favorite movies, the full Dr. Clarissa Cole workup. So who is our first nasty serial killer?
Well, the first had to be somebody that everybody is familiar with, that's been around a long time, and that seems to have sort of a history I could dig into. So I chose Michael Myers.
Ooh, good choice. Good choice, man. He has daddy issues, mommy issues, sister issues. He's got every issue you could think of. He's got more issues than Sports Illustrated.
He does. That was the hardest part. He didn't have a really specific victimology.
No, he just likes to kill. Yeah, I think that's just his thing. It's just his thing. Some people paint, other people fly airplanes. Not him. He murders. That's what I do on the weekends.
He's the boogeyman.
He is the boogeyman. He is
literally the boogeyman, and he keeps coming back. And there's no way to get rid of him, and there's no way to kill him. And he's never going to go away, and he just keeps coming at you. He's like that dream. I used to have a dream, nightmare definitely, when I was a kid. I have it every once in a while in my adulthood, but I used to have it a lot as a kid. And I could only move at a certain pace. I couldn't go really fast.
Okay.
And coming behind me, always slower than I was, but not much slower. So I was just kind of always slightly out of reach. Frankenstein.
Really?
trudging after me.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's what Michael Myers is. He just keeps coming. He's like the Energizer Bunny of horror.
He truly is.
You know that I'm trained in Freudian dream interpretation too, right, Eric? I can help you out with that later if you want.
Okay, when did Michael Myers start killing? I mean, actually, let's take it further back. What made him want to start killing?
Well, are we getting into this now? Because aren't we devoting the entire second hour to the whole thing?
Well, we have 2 serial killers to cover.
I'm just asking. Man. If we are. That's fine with me.
Okay, number 1 is Michael Myers. And, of course, Eric, if you would like to do headlines, we can absolutely shift gears. And we can do headlines first, and we can jump into it.
Well, I mean, I think we should tell people what's coming.
Yes.
I think it would be wise to use that whole hour for... Clarissa's our guest. She's not just visiting like she does once a month. She is the official guest of the second hour. She is our headline guest.
Yes, that is true. Yes, that is very true.
So like I can relax a little?
Yeah, relax.
Listen to some headlines?
This is live radio.
We don't want to waste that stuff.
Yeah, I guess our producer dropped the ball.
We don't want to waste that stuff. So, all right, let's tell them, though. As a tease, we've said Michael Myers. Do we want to give away the second one?
No, we're going to wait on that one. Michael Myers will be your first serial killer we cover. You're going to want to listen to that at the top of the next hour, and we will jump into both of those, because there's 2 of them. And you will be shocked at who the second one is.
Do-do-do-do. Yes, my friends. All right, time for our paranormal news. As usual, there's all kinds of freaky stuff going on out there in the paranormal world, broadly speaking, and we always cover it with an intensity that rivals 1,000 suns.
Wow.
On America's Most Haunted. Go to twitter.com, America's Most Haunted, and that's at AM Haunted. Follow us. Tweet along.
Be one of us.
Say hi. Be one of us. Retweet. Favorite, do whatever you want, just hang out. But this is how you can see the pictures and follow the links, all of which makes the experience so much more interesting and in-depth, my friends. All righty then, guess who is running for the Sewer Commission of Bangor, Maine?
Let's see, lives in the sewer, lives from Maine. I would have to say Pennywise the Clown.
Correct. You win.
So Pennywise is running for office finally. He's going to put his murderous ways behind him.
Bangor, Maine,
and try
home of Stephen King. What a coincidence.
Yeah, what a coincidence. He's going to try public service instead of murder. I guess it's a refreshing U-turn for him.
Yeah, well, they needed a sewer commissioner. And,
you know.
I mean, who better?
Well, you know, they all float down there, as he said.
Exactly. All right, so that's real. The part that's not real is the sewer commission part. But there are signs that appeared all over Bangor, Maine, saying, "Vote Pennywise."
What?
And a picture of him.
I wonder how many. You know what? Come Super Tuesday, I might just write in Pennywise.
Well, why not?
You know, just write him in. Be like, hey, there's my vote, Pennywise the Clown. You know. Why not?
I bet there'll be more than one.
I bet. You know what? Who knows? He may even carry a state.
It's possible. And if he was going to carry a state, it would be Maine.
Wouldn't it be weird if that upsets the election? And on a side note, folks, the one that destroyed the election was Pennywise the Clown. Just letting you know.
Well, I got a robocall from your one of your 2 senators, Joel.
Really? Was it Rick Nolan or?
No, it was Al Franken.
Why would Al Franken be calling you?
Well, he was letting me know how important it is that we vote down ticket. Okay.
Sure.
Because when he first ran, the first time he ran for senator of Minnesota, he only won by 300 and some votes.
Yes, and we've been paying for it ever since.
He let me know that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we all, you know.
So he said, just think. Every vote counts, and for whatever reason, he decided I'm a Democrat. And
evidently, he loves you.
And he wants me to vote for all of the Democrats down ticket.
You know what they should do? Is they should make a candidate actually call everybody like sit at the phone, not robocall, but actually call them.
Well, it would be shocking to people because they're so used to just getting either the robocalls that are from people whose names they actually recognize, or the surrogates whose names they don't recognize. And man, are you getting the volume of calls that we get? Of course, I'm here all day.
Well, you're in Ohio, man.
And I'm here.
You're in a swing state.
I'm
all
at
over
my house, in my office,
in your underwear
all day. But I get 10 political calls a day.
Wow, 10 a day? Wow,
10 a day.
I get mostly my car insurance and my credit card and life insurance calls. Like basically, it's those just your car warranty is expiring.
Oh man,
no, it's not. It's been expired for 10 years.
Exactly.
What
it's
the
about
hell?
To expire. Well, if Superman makes the Earth go backwards, then maybe so.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you had Al Franken call you. Better you than me.
Yeah,
I've talked to him.
That he only won by 300 and some
votes.
Oh,
yes. I was not one of those 300 some votes, by the way.
Every vote counts.
Well, I did not vote for him.
Here's the thing. Maybe you guys have a better sense of this than I do. Why is everyone, and it really does seem to be everyone, why are they pushing for early voting? Why do they want us to vote early?
Because Hillary Clinton's worried more dirty laundry is going to come out.
Oh, it's not just Hillary Clinton.
Or whoever it is.
I'm saying it's from everywhere.
Yeah, that is true.
Everyone is pushing.
I don't understand that either because it used to be
to vote early.
Well, right, Clarissa, it used to be that when you voted, unless you were on vacation or you truly could not make it to your poll, that was the only time you could do absentee balloting.
You're disabled, something like that.
Yeah, but now it's anybody that has the mind to can go vote early. So what's the point?
Well, I know that some of that is a push for, and I apologize for my ignorance on this, but I know that there are certain people that fall under certain political parties. I can't remember if it's Republican or Democrat, but people that typically don't show up to the polls and wouldn't show up to the polls on voting day because, I don't know, they don't like the amount of people, the traffic. So I know that out here they push for it to get all of those people just to vote because they know otherwise they won't get those votes.
Mark my words, someday there will be a voting app.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even have to go down to the precinct at all. You download the app, you put in your SSN number, and you vote. And that's all there is to it. And there will be no more of this rushing to the polls. And we'll be able to just do it electronically, which will even lend itself to more voting corruption.
I agree.
It seems like it. Yeah, and there's also something to be said. We keep losing our common experiences, and that is a very key part of a democracy. We lost the common experiences of a handful of TV stations. When I was a kid, there were only, even in Los Angeles, which was a huge market, you're talking the second biggest market in the country, we still only had 5-6 different channels, and that was it. You had the 3 networks, you had PBS, and you had a couple of independent stations.
Sure.
That was it. Well, and now, literally, we have hundreds of channels, and so it is not a common experience. There's a handful of things. I guess this World Series did really, really well, but that was for extenuating circumstances. And the Super Bowl does well. There's a handful of things that are still common. I guess maybe The Walking Dead season 7 debut.
That did real well. That
was a common experience. But there's voting at the same time, on the same day, that to me seems like something we should not be so quick to toss away. There's something to be said for the communal aspect of it, the shared experience. It all happens on the same day.
True.
It all happens.
True.
We all do this together.
Yes, part of democracy.
And when it's spread out over weeks and weeks and weeks, or even months, I don't know exactly when it started, but it's at least weeks and weeks. To me, it diminishes it. Plus, I don't know. I'm hearing. I guess someone somewhere has access to some of these votes because I'm hearing trends.
Yeah,
and
I
those trends
too.
are based on counted early votes.
Well,
they should be able to announce.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Of early voting. That doesn't make any sense at all.
I did an unscientific impromptu on Facebook. Just hey, if you're for Trump, write T. If you're for Hillary, write H. And if you don't like either of them, write other. T, H, and O. And I will tell you, in my little poll I did, I think that was only a couple hundred people, Trump won that in a landslide. I want to say that Hillary was maybe voted for maybe half a dozen times in that whole run of people.
Well, I'm guessing that says more about the people you happened to be interacting with.
I'm not saying I'm just saying maybe it's a microcosm of America. And these are people from all over. I think it's from people from all over the world all over the country that I know. And it wasn't like it was in one town. It was all parts of the country.
I'm less sure than I was a month ago, but I'm still pretty darn sure she's going to win.
I hope that the real candidate stands up and goes, enough of this. I'm your real candidate. Vote for me.
Between now and Tuesday?
Yeah, it's not going to happen, no.
Real quick,
I'm going to email
this isn't really
the
what we're talking about. But just before I came to the show, my daughter, my high school daughter, was participating in a debate, a mock debate. And each of the 5, they've included, what's-his-face, McMillan, each of the 5 candidates had several people, other than him, he only had one.
Only had one person.
These were all the AP government students, and so they had to pick one, and then they came up, and it was like a flash mob. Oh, my God, look at all the Donald Trumps. Look at all the Hillary Clintons. Look at all the Jill Steins. My daughter was a Stein. And it was really interesting to see because when you take the personalities away, they were not allowed to evoke the candidates' personalities, just their policies.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see how different the policies come across when they're not filtered through these people's, especially Trump's, personality. It was very interesting. He comes across a lot more reasonable when it's not coming out of his mouth.
Well,
for example.
Yeah. Go ahead. Give me an example.
Oh, just his, he has policies that I think are reasonable. I certainly think his daycare policy is reasonable.
Just his delivery stinks.
His delivery is really bad.
Yeah.
And his personal, my concern about his demeanor is a big, big, big concern.
Yeah, well, this just in, I just brought this up from the AP. Trump edges ahead of Clinton in the polls.
Well, okay.
So we will see because they are it's within the margin of error, so they truly are in a dead heat right now.
Are you talking about national or
national poll? That was posted 16 minutes ago.
Yeah, it depends on which poll, and
it's the ABC poll.
If you look at the poll of polls, that seems to be kind of the best because it averages out the outliers.
Yeah.
But it's going to be close. I'm sure
it's going to be a nail biter.
It really is. I still think the bottom line here is the Electoral College.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, email me who wins, will you?
Okay, I'll let you.
Get it? Emails? Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. Okay, that's good. And then I'll delete it.
Yes, make sure you delete it before you send it.
All right, moving back to our cool guy paranormal news, which we interpret very broadly. I like a lot of space stuff, too. There's the first total eclipse of the sun in a few decades. I think it was 79, is coming next August. And people get very freaked out about the total eclipse of the sun. And did you know that those few minutes in your area where the sun is totally eclipsed, that is the only time that you can look directly at the sun?
Wow. Huh. Well, I suppose. I mean, when I was a kid, that was a hobby.
Looking directly at the sun.
That was the only thing we had to do.
Well,
stare at the sun so long we can do it.
I hope your peers survived as well as you did. Because, it could burn your eyes out of your head.
That's why I wear glasses now, I guess. I don't know. Could have been all the sun staring.
No, the article made a really strong point of saying, we're not recommending this, but we're just letting you know. The few minutes when the sun is literally, completely, utterly eclipsed, and it's black as night, that's the only time you can look. Even when there's just the halo around it, that can still harm your eyes.
Wow. Well, that's not a good thing, so I don't recommend anyone staring at the sun.
All right, speaking of horror classics, are you a fan of From Dusk to Dawn?
I am. I like that movie. This is a good flick.
Lots of dead vampires.
Oh, lots of them. And it had Tom Savini in it. It had, George Clooney. It had, of course, the director in it, which is...
Quentin Tarantino.
Yep, Quentin Tarantino. I mean, it had a really good cast going for it. I liked it. It was a good movie.
Salma Hayek.
Oh, yeah. She was cute back in those days.
That was her first big role.
Yeah.
Well, 20th anniversary. Can you believe it?
Wow.
20 years ago. And they're doing a special 20th anniversary presentation in selected theaters nationwide on November 6th and November 9th. And in those theaters, they will be showing a live Q&A with both Robert Rodriguez, who was the director of the film, and Quentin Tarantino, who, as we mentioned, was a co-star in it, and he also wrote it.
And where is this happening?
Theaters throughout the country.
A theater? Or is the Q&A? Or are they just, it's going to be traveling?
Fathom events.
Okay.
It'll just be up on the screen. You'll
very
see
cool.
them on the screen.
Very, very cool. I'd like to
But they'll
attend
be
one of
live.
those.
They'll be answering questions live, but you'll just see it in the movie theater on the screen.
You should go, Eric. You should go in and ask them questions.
I maybe should.
You should.
Go to Fathom events. They do this kind of thing,
could say-
special presentation.
You can ask Quentin, do you Pinterest?
I will ask him that very question. And he'll squidge up his eyes and push it up and get into his face because he's all distorted and stop doing that to your face. What is wrong with you?
Yes, he is a different looking guy.
He squidges it up.
Yeah. I like his movies. The Hateful Eight was actually pretty good. I like that one.
I still haven't seen that one.
That's pretty good. It's more too much talking, I guess, but
it's the most recent one, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of talking, but man, that second half it really makes up for it.
Well, he certainly has had some classics.
He has. He really has. Pulp Fiction.
Who doesn't love Pulp Fiction?
Everybody loves Pulp Fiction. Even Clarissa loves Pulp Fiction.
I do, actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
You were a big John Travolta lover, weren't you?
No, not really. I was more of like a Horseshack fan, you know?
Really? Okay.
Back in the day.
Okay.
It's going way
That's
back.
good. You just jumped in the Wayback Machine, and we're in 1976, and she's loving on John Travolta back in the Horseshack days.
Mr. Cotter.
Yeah. Malcolm Cotter. Yes. Wow.
Love that show.
Man,
Loved
before
it.
he got all bloated and weird. Yeah. Yep.
He's gone up and down.
Yeah, well, he has, and not to pick on Scientology, but they're all Scientologists. I find that a little wacky. Each their own, of course, but I'm just saying, since we did the show with Mark Headley, I find it a little wacky.
Oh, it's very wacky. Very wacky.
You know.
In fact, how interesting would a psychological analysis of the basic tenets of Scientology be? That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. That'd be kind of cool.
Could do that. I've looked a lot into it. I mean, I'm afraid to offend people, kind of, but it's about as cult like.
They'll come get you.
As I've seen. Yeah.
They'll come get you.
Well, they used to. It used to be they'd come and get you. Now they've been pretty much defanged.
We had Mark Headley on the show, and he made I shouldn't say the mistake, but he was brave enough to leave and write a book about it.
Oh, yeah.
And they were not nice to him.
Oh, no, he's had issues. But these days, he's a lot less concerned. They've been defanged.
The venom is all gone.
No, not all, but largely.
Yes.
All right, moving along. Boy, is this in Clarissa's wheelhouse. There's a brand new true crime series coming to... it's going to be... Boy, we've seen this a lot lately. It's going to be both on Investigation Discovery, ID, and TLC.
Man, TLC is the hot place to be lately. I mean, they're getting
snapping up everything.
They are getting the shows, aren't they?
So it's called People Magazine Investigates, and they actually are using the staff of People Magazine to investigate these crimes. And it appears to be mostly serial killers, and they're starting off with the Long Island serial killer.
Ooh. Did they ever catch him? The Long Island? No, not at all, right? How about the Boston Strangler, Clarissa? Did they ever get him?
I don't think they did, no.
Okay.
The guy that confessed to it, I think clearly was not.
Well, I wasn't sure if that he would, if actually held water. I know it's an old case and it's an old confession, but my favorite show on TLC is Buried Alive. By the way, just throwing that out there.
Is that on TLC?
Yeah, I like to see people getting buried alive. No, that's A&E. Never mind, that's A&E. Sorry, my bad. A&E. I was watching Buried Alive the other day. What a disturbing show.
What happens? Tell me. I don't know.
Well, there are people that live. They're hoarders, right? And Clarissa, I'm sure you've seen the show.
Oh, it's the hoarders.
They're hoarders, right? And
man, oh man.
Yeah, and they collected so much garbage that they're literally burying themselves alive in their own filth.
I have seen that.
Man, what a crazy show! I mean, Clarissa, have you ever ran into a hoarder?
Oh gosh, yeah. It's pretty common, especially in the realm of like anxiety and OCD. I have watched that show too. I have kind of a weird fascination with it. My problem with the show as a psychologist is how they're treating it.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that. They're doing it for the show, and the people that are working with these people, in my opinion, should know better. So public call out to you, by the way, people that work on that show. That is not how you treat hoarding.
No,
I don't agree with it.
Because they go in there and they say, "You need to throw away your crap."
It's not that they don't need to throw away their stuff, but to wholesale get in there with a truck and clean them out of everything and not go through that they're creating another trauma, which is exactly what these people are hoarding to forget is a trauma.
True, because you're absolutely correct, because every time you see the show, it's like, I can't let go of my fine china. It reminds me of my late husband, Ernie. No, who cares? Chuck in the truck and that's it.
That's exactly it. That's why people hoard. They're surrounding themselves with stuff to protect from trauma. And these experts, these people who are licensed psychologists, some of them are going in there and re-traumatizing them by cleaning them out in like a week. So I can't watch the show.
I feel bad for some of the people, because you're right. They go through that emotional turmoil of having to give away not only their stuff, but to them, it's the last link that they have to their loved ones.
And that should always be done gradually under supervision for many period, a long period of time. And I realize these are situations where they don't have that time.
Yeah, well, a lot
the house
of
is
times,
going to be condemned.
Yes, exactly. If you don't clean it out, we're bulldozing it next week. You hear that a lot on there.
Right, but what I would do as a professional, as much as I wouldn't like to do it, is put all the stuff in storage and go through it gradually, because that's the way to do it professionally, in my opinion.
That would be the more therapeutic way of doing things.
Yes.
But it would not get us ratings, now would it?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
We would not have ratings of Grandma crying in the corner, going, you threw away Harold's last thing. My life is done.
Oh, that container of my old toothpaste droppings had his ashes in it.
I named that cockroach Bob.
Exactly.
And you killed Bob.
Dead cockroach Bob, not living cockroach
Bob.
Yeah,
he's dead. I was watching one episode where they actually found a dead cat buried under everything. It was already fossilized. They're like, hey, did you happen to own a cat? Yeah, I did. I haven't seen him in 10 years.
Yeah,
we found him.
They were using the dehumidifier, and that mummified Whiskers.
Good old Whiskers look like it should be from, should be in a vault somewhere. It should be in a sarcophagus.
Really quick, because I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, we got 1 minute.
Top of the hour. I have the perfect lead-in to our next hour. There's a really good article on Bloody Disgusting. What makes a great horror villain?
Oh, well, you got to be smart, be scary, be everywhere at once, and be nowhere at all. Yeah, you need all those things.
But on some level, there has to be some kind of empathy or sympathy.
Well, there has to be. You got to have something. We all know Clarissa's very sympathetic with some of these people. And,
oh, my heavens.
And it's rubbed off on me. I've seen it in a different light now.
She is one with the serial killers.
She is one, so no.
I wouldn't go that far.
She collects,
Become the serial killer.
Yes.
Uh-oh, there's a movie.
You must become one with the serial killer. No.
Has there been a movie where the therapist turns into...
Yeah, has that happened in real life?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a whole other show.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, we're going to have to touch on that next time you're on. therapist actually turned into the killer. Oh, that'd be some juicy stuff. We got to run to Fox News. We come back. We're finally going to pull the cork on this, and we're going to talk about the Hollywood serial killers. Don't go anywhere.
News Radio. I'm Lisa Brady.
Here we go again with Clinton. You remember the impeachment and the problem.
Donald Trump at a Jacksonville rally moments ago saying Hillary Clinton will follow in her husband's footsteps and bring more scandal to the White House.
This is not what we need in this country, folks. We need somebody that's going to go to work, to bring our jobs back, to take care of our military, to strengthen up our borders.
Trump calling his campaign the bright future. President Obama also in Florida urging people not to believe Trump's promises. Fox Radio's Jared Halpern live in Washington.
President Obama is hitting key swing states hard for Hillary Clinton, an effort to rally young and diverse voters who helped him win the last two presidential elections.
Make no mistake, Florida, all the progress we've made goes out the window if we don't win this election. So we've got to work our hearts out this week.
The president will campaign for Clinton all the way until next week's election. The Clinton campaign announcing an election eve rally in Philadelphia featuring Hillary Clinton and her family alongside the first family. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. Today, Clinton will stump in North Carolina, where Trump is also heading next, with recent polls there showing a dead heat. Police in Iowa say they appreciate the outpouring of support after yesterday's ambush killing of 2 officers.
And to the people that have said the comments about yay, more dead cops, this would be you if it wasn't us standing there.
Des Moines Police Sergeant Paul Parazek during an emotional news conference a short time ago. Court documents show that murder suspect Scott Green had been ordered by a judge to move out of his mother's home just hours before the killings, accused of elder abuse. Investigators haven't interviewed him yet. He was initially hospitalized when he complained of a medical episode after surrendering. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced. More U.S. troops dead in combat in Afghanistan 2 years after the combat mission ended.
Defense Secretary Ash Carter in a statement said he was saddened to learn that 2 U.S. service members were killed and 4 others wounded in northern Afghanistan while embedded with local forces. Carter said the service members were doing their part to help the Afghans secure their own country while protecting our homeland from those who would do us harm. According to the Pentagon, the American service members came under fire alongside Afghan troops while attempting to clear a Taliban position in Kunduz province. 5 Americans have now been killed in action in Afghanistan since early October. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
Frustrated commuters urging striking transit workers in Philadelphia to make a deal as union members walk picket lines for a third day. The buses, trolleys, and subways that usually give rides to some 900,000 every day still shut down. City streets clogged with traffic. The union accuses the Southeastern Transportation Authority of lining its own pockets after promising pension reform. SEPTA says the union's demands would cost too much money. Talks do continue. Tomorrow, we get the jobs report for October. Today, a bit of a surprise in jobless claims.
There were many more people than expected filing for unemployment benefits for the first time last week. The Labor Department says first-time claims increased 7,000 to 265,000. It's the highest number of new claims in 3 months, though still under 300,000, which indicates the labor market is healthy. The number of people still receiving benefits after the first week declined 14,000 to 2.03 million. That's the lowest reading since June of 2000. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
At this hour, stocks turning lower. The Dow's down about 12 points. Oil sinking under $45 a barrel. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And the beautiful and talented Dr. Clarissa Cole is with us tonight, of course. And now we're actually going to pop the cork on this. We did talk about the first killer, the first case that was chosen, and that was Mr. Michael Myers, of course, of Haddonfield, Illinois. And he comes to us weighing in a grand total of 260 pounds, standing at 6'4", and nothing but fury and muscle. Okay, now I made it sound like we're in for a prize fight. Give us the rundown of Michael. I mean, what's his childhood like? I mean, what brought him to this point?
Well, all I know is that he was born into, looks like just kind of a regular middle-class family in a suburb in Illinois. He had one older sister named Judith, who was 11 years older than him, and eventually one younger sister named Laurie. So, middle child. His upbringing seemed like it was pretty quiet in kind of a, normal sort of suburb, but the weird part, I think, about Michael Myers' story is that he stopped communicating verbally. He was mute. They described him as being mute for about 6 months before his first crime happened when he was 6 years old, right? And this is something in psychology that we call selective mutism.
Really? So he was born October 19th, 1957, and he didn't kill until what year was his first murder?
October of 1963.
So he was mute, like you were saying, 6 months before he did his first crime. How old would that have made him? He must not have been very old.
He was 6 years old.
Jeez, he's already wielding a knife?
Yeah.
Who did he kill?
He killed his older sister, Judith.
At 11 years old, you would have thought she would have been able to fight off a toddler.
No.
She was like 17.
Oh,
17,
she was
rather.
17. She was 17. Wow, you would have thought that it would have been a no-brainer, just kind of paste the kid to the wall and be done with it.
You'd think so, but I think she was kind of, she was unaware. And so what happened, I guess, was that on Halloween, he went to his schools, he had a costume competition sort of thing. He was a clown because, why not? And he went trick-or-treating with his friends, came to his own house where Judith was supposed to be babysitting. Okay. The younger sister, Laurie, who was only 2, all right?
Yeah.
So, or around there. Laurie's very young. And instead, Judith had her boyfriend over. So when young Mike... Yeah, he got upset,
It made Michael very angry. And especially if they were up to no good, if you know what I'm saying.
It looks like they were up to no good.
Yeah.
So this made him really sort of lose it, and once the boyfriend left, Michael was kind of simmering and raging. Came back home, and his sister was sort of unaware, I think, of his presence. He put that clown mask back on, got a butcher knife from the kitchen, went upstairs and stabbed her.
Wow! At 6 years old, he did this.
Yes.
Wow, that's really quite amazing that he'd have the upper body strength to penetrate the skin at 6 years old.
That's a very good point. See, that's what's good about fictional killers. It's like I don't see it happening, but you never know.
I'm just saying at 6 years old, the arm just is not a very strong thing yet, but so okay, he finds the girl doing the hanky-panky, kills her off. Does he ever kill the boyfriend, or does he get away? Or is this after they've done the deed, then he kills her?
This is after.
Okay, so he never actually gets the boyfriend either. Okay, I tell you. Well,
Mom and Dad were out, but the point of weird point here is Mom and Dad, I guess, were out seeing Psycho, the movie which had been released that year.
Yes, also known as the Myers Family Tree. Grandpa Myers killing people in the shower. No, I'm kidding.
And so they come home to find him, essentially holding a bloody knife after killing his sister, and he ends up going to a mental hospital.
How long does he spend in this mental hospital?
15 years. So, after a decade and a half, he escapes at 21 years old.
So he's out of there, man. How did he escape, though? I mean, mental hospitals are generally pretty locked down. There must have been something that, gave him opportunity, if you know of it, afforded him opportunity to escape. Did he kill anyone on the way out of the mental hospital?
I think he did, didn't he? Wasn't it like a transport somewhere?
Yeah, well, it depends on which version we're talking about. We're talking about John Carpenter, or we're talking about Rob Zombie?
John Carpenter.
Okay, because they were totally different stories in a lot of ways. He did kill, I want to say, yes, like a transport person or what have you. to get away. And, of course, Dr. Loomis is hot on his trail after this happens, but that's down the road a little bit. So, okay, Michael's on the run. He gets out of the insane asylum. Does he lay low or does he start killing?
Well, we should also mention, by the way, that this escape occurred on the day before Halloween. So the original murder was on a Halloween 15 years before, and this is what in psychology would be known as an anniversary effect.
Is there a lot of anniversary killings in psychology?
It's not necessarily anniversary killings, and this is going to be morbid. There are a lot of anniversary suicides.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people die. Christmas is a big one. That people
exactly. Whenever they've had sort of a loss, holidays are big time. I used to be the suicide prevention coordinator at San Quentin, and holidays were always big times for suicide, and the other was the anniversary of the person's crime. So whenever we were watching somebody for suicide, we wanted to know when their crime occurred and start watching them at a few weeks before then.
Yeah, because then they'd either feel, I suppose, they'd have remorse or what have you, and have a hard time living themselves with that date looming.
That's exactly right. But Michael Myers...
No, he don't care. No, Mikey don't care.
He had no problem with it.
No, Mikey likes to kill.
He does. So he escaped, and then depending on which movie you're watching at this point, not just the first one, he goes on a full-on spree of killing.
Yeah, well, he had quite a body count in that movie.
Yeah.
It was pretty graphic.
I think was it 15 in the first one?
Let me go to Google.
I don't think it was that many. It was basically Laurie's, who is now grown up, and we did not know in that first movie that Laurie Strode was in fact his sister. We didn't learn that till later on.
Here is the dossier of who Michael Myers killed while he was on a spree.
In Halloween 1?
In Halloween 1, John Carpenter film. Judith Meyer, stabbed to death after her boyfriend left. A mechanic, stabbed to death by Michael Myers. On-screen death, no. He needed a vehicle, so he killed him to get it. Okay, he kills, get this, number 3, and I find this totally appalling, a stray dog. But then he ate it. Corpse was discovered by Dr. Loomis and the sheriff's department in the empty Myers home.
Oh my!
Then he killed Lester. The Wallace's dog by strangling it. He had a hatred of dogs, evidently.
It would appear.
He was not a canine lover. It was in the back of the garden trying to warn Annie Brackett and protect his owner from Michael, but Michael took it upon himself to strangle the dog.
I was just gonna say that I don't think it's a hatred of dogs. The biggest reason that people that commit crime kill dogs is to not be discovered.
Well, yeah, because they're the early warning systems. The dog starts barking. What are you gonna do? Let it bark, or throw a stake at it, or kill it?
And they're dangerous.
They are. In the movies, they show them throwing stakes at them. There you go, dog. There you go. That never actually works, by the way. That does not work. So. The dog that is vigilant to protect its family, that does not work. No, it will not chase the stake. It'll chase you, but not the stake. By the way, I had an interesting conversation with Steve Asher last night about me eating an eyeball, but that's a whole nother story.
Well, I have done that too. That's odd.
Yeah, it was a beef eyeball.
A what?
A beef eyeball. It was a cow eyeball.
How was it?
It was really kind of like a grape.
Yeah, mine was a pork eyeball.
Yeah, so it was in Texas, and it was a rite of passage that this particular Texas steakhouse, and I know I was told I went over the line last night with the story, so I will not give a gory detail, but it wasn't as bad as it looks.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Mine was not as bad either.
I'll tell you, I have not done that. I've eaten sheep gonads.
Well, that's eyeball oysters. That's
exactly.
What that is. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. But anyhow.
And did you know that Errol Flynn's first job was, they used to have to do this manually. The quickest and most sanitary and supposedly least painful method of castrating sheep was to bite them off.
What? You just walk up there, your choppers, and start going to town on them?
Harold Flynn's first job was biting the gonads off sheep.
No way!
Way.
Can you imagine having that job? What do you do? I'm a ball biter. I mean, jeez.
All right, so do you want to be one of the most famous and handsome men in Hollywood, or do you want to keep biting the balls off sheep?
Let me think about that for a minute. I think the perks.
I think I'll grow the mustache and become a pirate.
I do like the perks of biting the balls, but I really want to become a pirate. Let me weigh that one for a minute. Okay, I'll become a pirate. Okay, Addie Brackett, she died at the hands of Michael Meyer. Her throat slashed with a butcher knife, of course. She was in the car about to pick up Paul, and I'm just running down his victims so we can kind of ascertain how many. Now, victims in the original Halloween, they only have 7 listed as victims.
Okay.
And so, really, that seems like a really light body count compared to like a Jason Voorhees.
Mm-hmm.
Where the whole movie is nothing but one big, kill fest.
Well, one of the big reasons, one of the big citations of all of the various critics who love the movie. I mean, that's one of the best reviewed horror movies ever, the original Halloween, and that was one of the things that they cited was the relative lack of body count, and it was relatively bloodless.
Well, relatively for the time, yeah, absolutely. The Rob Zombie's version, of course, was a much different tale. Much darker Michael Myers, if it could get any darker, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And more explicit.
Way more explicit. Went over the top in some ways. But Michael Meyer, okay, now we ascertained he killed 7 people in his first rampage, because there was 2 rampages before he was really dealt with. But the first one, he killed 7. Now, when they were after Michael and they were stalking him, what tactics were used to get him? I mean, how'd they lure him out in the open?
Well, the doctor was kind of hunting him down, correct? Dr. Loomis?
Yes, Dr. Loomis.
Yes, I am less familiar with that. I'm trying to remember. I have not seen the movie in a while, so I might need some help on this one.
Okay, well, Dr. Loomis basically comes up and he says, Michael was my patient. I love that boy. I don't think he ever said he loved him, but he did have a deep, deep fondness for him. I will find you, Michael. I will find you. And so he set out to find him, and he ended up going to Haddonfield, Illinois, which is a small town America, middle America, where you would not think a psychopathic killer would be.
Oh, because he knew he would return there, right?
Yes. He should have thought that right away. He will be going to Haddonfield. In fact, he says that in one of the lines. Where do you think he's going, Doctor? Haddonfield. Oh, okay, sounds good to me. And that was about it. So Dr. Loomis, a frail old man at this point, shows up to chase down the psychopathic killer that stands about 6'5" and probably about 280 pounds. And the only thing he has is a snub-nosed .38 revolver, and that's it. And running around and not really catching Michael. And a lot of points, I don't think you really want to catch Michael. I think it was more, they give me a paycheck. I suppose I should act like I'm chasing him.
I'll pretend. Well, even in that very first one where he was more human than he became later, he still went flying off that balcony, remember?
He did.
And landed, at least 2 stories below, and he was gone after the fact. All right, so having described his rampage, and of course his number one target turns out to be his younger sister, his baby sister, Laurie, now known as Strode, but who is in fact Laurie Myers. And so what I'm really interested in hearing, since we only have actually 11 more minutes in this half hour, what is your analysis, Clarissa?
Well, I found it really interesting that he was, going back after his family and that he had this selective mutism. So selective mutism, if it is not caused by a language deficit. So some kids that develop this selective mutism where they just stop talking. So they have the ability to because they're old enough to and they have before, and then all of a sudden they become mute. A lot of kids that develop that is because they have an actual speech problem like a lisp. Something that is impairing them and they're getting teased. By peers.
Sure. So they'll just shut up instead of talking. I'll just be quiet now. That way I don't get teased.
Exactly. Or, if their parents are very punitive, some parents make fun of their children when they can't speak correctly. So
that's mean. Who'd ever do that?
Well, yeah, it happens. So that's why we see selective mutism too. But another reason selective mutism happens is because there is abuse in the home.
Yeah.
And the child can't talk about it, or feels like they can't talk about it, or they're actually afraid of their caregivers.
Well, some selective mutism would be nice in my house, let me tell you.
A lot of people wish for that, yeah.
My 2-year-old is a chatterbox. Even talks in her sleep, crying out loud.
That's awesome.
Just be quiet.
That's what toddlers should be like. So the fact that he had this selective mutism for 6 months leading up to the crime, to me, indicates that there was some sort of a trauma or some sort of a process going on either. So there was either an internal or an external trauma. An external trauma would be something like abuse of some sort, sexual abuse potentially. An internal trauma might be something like he was hearing voices. Some sort of a psychotic process happening.
That's scary, though.
It is scary, especially in somebody that young. It is incredibly rare to see someone that young with any sort of schizophrenic process. But when it happens, it tends to be quite severe.
Well, when does schizophrenia generally, if you are going to have it, inherit it, or develop it, when does it develop and when does it show? What age brackets?
It's very typical in the early 20s for men and in the mid to late 20s for women.
Wow, so they could be completely normal, generally speaking, and then just like a switch gets flipped, and next thing you know, they're running around talking to themselves? I mean, how does that really work? Or is it a gradual growing of the problem?
I can't, mention any names, but one of the most tragic, I felt, cases that I ever saw was while I was still in school. It was an undergraduate who came to the counseling center. And when you first see symptoms, it's actually called schizophreniform disorder because they don't meet criteria yet. So it was the first several months, and he was referred to the counseling center because he had left macaroni and cheese on the stove to the point where it started a fire in his apartment complex because he literally forgot about it. And campus security had found him on the campus burying dead birds.
Well, they are dead. I mean, he wants to do a proper burial.
Yeah, and he was kind of obsessed with, because there's a bunch of starlings that come into that area of the country at a certain time of year, and some of them pass away, and you see dead birds. It's not uncommon. But he was found in the middle of the night burying these dead birds. So
that is strange.
It was a very gradual process. Most of the time, he was pretty lucid. But in the times that he wasn't, his behavior was getting increasingly bizarre. And I felt really terrible because he wanted to continue with college, but it just became more and more evident that he wouldn't be able to.
Wow, that is truly a sad story. So in Michael Myers' case, what do you think caused his voluntary mutism?
I'm thinking that in his case, it was potentially some sort of abuse process that maybe pushed him over the edge because of the fact that he was so fixated on his family, and that, these pseudo-sexual situations kind of seemed to set him off as well. I'm wondering if there might, in my hypothesis, it would be that he was potentially sexually abused by either a family member or someone close to the family, and it kind of pushed him over an edge that he couldn't come back from.
Now, Michael is obviously the exception and not the rule, right? I mean, most people that are voluntary mutism, or isn't that the word that you use, voluntary mutism?
Selective mutism.
Selective mutism. They don't become psychopathic, serial killers that are after their own sisters.
Oh gosh, no. Most of them turn out just fine. It is definitely a really benign diagnosis, and when someone brings their child in with selective mutism, it's not an easy fix necessarily, but it's very early.
Okay, well that's good to know. If the kid wants to go silent for a little while, doesn't mean to be wielding a knife next week.
No, not at all. But it does mean that they should see somebody. I really want to point that out.
Yeah.
Really. If somebody has a child that is speaking like a toddler and is blah, blah, blah all the time, and then they just stop speaking, bring them in to see
that's
somebody.
a good point. Very, very good point. Okay, to wrap up Michael, what would the rest of your analysis be on him if he were a real serial killer out there actively? If you had to chase him down, I know you're not profiler, so to speak, but you have done enough of that study. What would you tell people to look for?
He's definitely not going to stray far from his comfort zone. He doesn't know anything else. He was locked up at age 6. So my guess is that he's not going to be necessarily traveling the country. He shouldn't know how to drive a car. I mean, if he was a real, you shouldn't really know how to drive a car, at least not very well. He wouldn't have a lot of skills to take care of himself, i.e., killing a dog to eat it. He doesn't have any skills. He would stand out and he would go back to where he came from.
He's kind of like the horror movie equivalent of Rain Man.
Kinda, yeah. He was locked up at 6. I mean, he doesn't know how to do anything for himself.
Yeah, I'm a really good driver. I'm an excellent driver.
You remember, we actually watched, it just happened to be on Halloween, and we watched H2O, the 20th anniversary one.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was not bad. It had actually quite a bit of star power, a lot of big names in it, and it was interesting enough. I had never seen that before. But at the very, very end, when she finally gets him, right? He is reaching out, and there's to him and or to her. I mean,
there's a moment of love.
Yes, there's a moment where they connect, and then of course she lops his head off.
Don't kill me, sissy. Don't kill me.
Which was probably wise on her part. I'm thinking 20 years of hiding and changing her name and having awful, terrible nightmares and taking antidepressants and what else was she taking? Percocet and whatnot.
She was all over the board.
She had a lot of issues.
Well, before we go, though, what would be the treatment that you would give someone like that after they're apprehended?
Well, he'd need to be in a lockup facility, and my guess is that he would have schizoaffective disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and rule out childhood sexual abuse. So he would be put through the full gamut of state hospital treatment, which would be groups and individual sessions pretty much every day, all day.
Wow, would you want to be a group of Michael Myers doing group therapy?
I have been in groups with people like Michael Myers.
I mean,
Take that damn mask off.
Yeah. You're not William Shatner.
I have said weirder, so it's not... Yeah, I've had to stop people from playing ping pong with imaginary partners. Just,
So there are people that do exist in the world, generally speaking, that can exhibit a Michael Myers type personality.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's why I so liked profiling him, because there were some pieces, at least that John Carpenter put in there, like the selective mutism. There were pieces that hinted at something a lot deeper. And the fact that he was so focused on his family, that is the type of patient that you see in like a state hospital system.
Wow, that's
Why
scary.
would he have wanted to wipe out his family? Because I know you made a big point of that in your article.
If he was abused by a member of his family, or they allowed him to be abused, or even if he delusionally thought he was abused, he might think, and especially if he really kind of detested himself on some level, he would think that the bloodline itself was tainted. Therefore, he has to wipe out everybody in that bloodline. It would be incredibly important for him to do that.
Wow, obsessive. He has to kill them. He has to kill them because he believes the bloodline is tainted. Wow.
That would be my guess. And I have seen people like that have tried to wipe out their entire family.
Jeez. Makes family reunions really hard. Or really easy.
They're all killers.
Yeah, really easy. Depends on your point of view. All right, there's a family reunion.
It's like a cage match.
Yeah. What are you doing this weekend? Well, it's a family reunion, and there's a few on the hit list I haven't got yet. So, I'll be busy. Don't worry. If you don't hear from me, I got caught. Well, we got to run a break, and when we come back, we're going to put the rest of the puzzle together, so to speak. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker. And I'm Charlie Parker. And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog? I don't know, Kip. Tell me. Well, you can't talk to the dead. You sure as hell can. That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija. Ouija? Well, break that down for me. Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time, and G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii. It looks like it spelled like a Chinaman got caught in there. Don't question it. Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it. Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself. Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on. That's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette, which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you. Well, how does that work, Chip? Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers. That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money. Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions. Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip. No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help. Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead? The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored wallwords. Separate but equal savings.
You're listening to After Hours AM, the best in alternative talk radio. You got a question for our guest tonight? Email that to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Feeling social? Join the After Hours AM, America's Most Haunted group on Facebook. The coolest Facebook group anywhere. And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, like always, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And Eric, now Clarissa, she's going to put the picture together for us, totally, on the next one. Who was the next killer that you chose to profile from Hollywood?
This was a hard choice. There were definitely a lot of contenders, but the one that I felt would be the most interesting profile was actually John Jigsaw Kramer from Saw.
Really? Okay, yeah, he seems like a thinking man's mass murderer.
Yeah, that's what was so intriguing about him. And the part that's kind of difficult is that if you've only seen the first Saw movie, you might be a little bit lost because they really didn't do a lot of his backstory until the second movie.
No, they didn't do a whole lot of anything. He was the body laying there motionless for the whole duration of the movie.
But my God, was that good? Was it not? I'm sorry.
That was a good movie.
Well done.
That was a very good movie. The first one was really good. Second one was decent.
And it had philosophical, or moral depth to it. But pretty quickly the series descended into torture porn. In fact, that's where the term was invented.
It did.
Torture porn.
Yeah, it kind of did become torture porn. You're right, and it became a joke. The Saw movies that were out like this time every year for a long time, and you're absolutely correct. And I think the first two of them were the best. After that, kind of went down to the torture porn kind of thing going on. If I want to see torture porn, I'll throw in the movie Hostel. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Quentin Tarantino's, if that's really what I'm in the mood for, which I'm never in the mood for that. But thank God. But why don't you go ahead and give us the rundown? What was his young life like? John Kramer, rather. What was his young life like?
Well, we don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't know a lot about his young life. So what I did was kind of assume that it was somewhat uneventful, somewhat normative. And it actually seems that way because he had a stable sort of early adulthood. He became a very successful civil engineer.
Yep.
And he got married to a woman named Jill Tuck, that he described as the love of his life, and they were happily married. There was, supposedly no, marital turmoil. He was happy in his marriage. And they were both employed outside the home. So he was a civil engineer working on, real estate, and she ran a recovery clinic for drug and alcohol addicts.
Really? So, they were normal people that had good jobs. You would think the normal American family, she worked in the medical field pretty much, and he was a civil engineer. What tripped his trigger?
Well, she, had this, the motto of her center was cherish your life as the philosophy. And, she seems like a very kind person. She eventually became pregnant with their child. But, she was working kind of a higher risk job. Working in a drug and alcohol center has risks that come with it. And during her pregnancy, there were some reckless actions of one of her patients, which caused her to miscarry that child, which meant everything to John.
So he decided to take it out on the world?
That's not at first. No, he didn't just go to that extreme at first. It caused discord in the marriage, and they did get divorced. And this is not necessarily uncommon after miscarriages, and certainly not after a child dies. So he lost that stability of having Jill in his life, and it spiraled out of control from there. He became more and more depressed, but he was trying to go on with his life. But then he goes to a routine medical appointment and gets a diagnosis of colon cancer with an inoperable brain tumor.
Oh boy, he kind of got the double whammy right there.
Talk about pain, first of all. Colon cancer, extremely painful.
I've heard it's a pain in the butt.
Oh God, really? It's very bad, and a brain tumor not necessarily as painful, but it will kill you.
Yeah. Colon cancer is very, very deadly, and try not to make fun of it. I'm sorry about that. I do apologize. It is not a pain in the butt. It is a pain in the colon. And
yes, it's terrible, checked. hard to treat, and definitely get checked. But this, he was already kind of depressed by the demise of the marriage and the miscarriage, right? So then he goes to the doctor trying to take care of himself, and he finds out, you don't have long to live. So this really, spiraled him out of control, and he attempted suicide. And I'm going to say this, guys, please don't get mad at me. In typical male fashion, he decided to go out in a blaze of glory. Women tend to
sexist.
I know, right? I'm a sexist pig. It's horrible.
Well, you know what? You may as well go all the bang rather than whimper.
Exactly right. He drove his car over a cliff.
Yeah, come on. That's one of the biggest bangs.
It really very well, and I shouldn't be sexist because Thelma and Louise kind of did the same thing. So anyway,
they really did, and they had a pact to do it too. They even held hands, so that's even worse.
It is worse. Yeah, well, he did not die after doing this.
Wow, he's a tough son of a gun. Let me tell you.
No kidding. So he survived this attempt, and after and this is also not uncommon. Being a suicide risk expert, this is not uncommon when someone has an attempt that is very potentially lethal. They either come out of it and continue to be suicidal, or they come out of it with a kind of a totally different perspective. And that's what happened with John Kramer. He felt like he could sort of see more clearly that you need to cherish your life, really, kind of the motto of the clinic.
Life is precious.
Don't waste it, the time you have.
Yeah.
But he kind of went in a more morbid direction with that.
Well, he kind of did. He started killing people. How precious can life be if he's devising mechanical things to kill people?
Well, okay, that is not fair now, Joel, because he was not killing people. The people just didn't have the ingenuity to escape.
Sorry, they weren't all masters in engineering to figure out that,
I know, right?
So really they were behind the 8 ball anyway. You walk into a place that where, you pull your hand out and it cuts your hand off. He played on the human. Really, what he did was he played on the human emotion and the human reaction to things, and he knew these reactions, and he made his gadgets, if you will, deadly enough to play on those reactions.
And he also tried to choose people in his mind that he felt like maybe didn't deserve to live because they had done something that he felt was unethical.
What makes him the godlike person to be able to do that?
Well, he's a psychopath, so most of them.
Well, that is true. That is true. God complex.
Yeah, very narcissistic. But the thing that makes him so unique, not just the puzzles that he wanted people to try to escape from, but the fact that he was typically present in some form during all of these killing sessions, either physically like he was in the first Saw, or communicating through this Billy puppet, which is a surrogate. Yeah. So it leaves him a mystery and makes him even more creepy and mysterious. If you do survive it.
Maybe you need that separation so he didn't feel so guilty.
I doubt it.
you know what I mean? If he was not physically present there and someone's died, it wasn't like, he could be like, well, it wasn't my fault. There wasn't out. It was right there, and they just didn't take it, see?
Well, you might be onto something, though, Joel. I mean, the fact that he wasn't able to sort of look them in the face while this is happening, it does say something about him.
Yeah, he didn't have enough balls, so to speak, to confront these people. He would really rather just kill them and not discuss what they've done and maybe counsel people, which would be the better route to go, rather than making mechanical destruction devices.
Exactly. He's trying to use mortal terror as a motivator, and while that might work in the short term, it doesn't work in the long term.
No, gosh, no. I don't advocate anyone making any gadgets to kill each other, and quite honestly, it's the character now. Spoiler alert, but it's 10 years ago. Spoiler alert. He is dead. He did die in one of the Saws. He did succumb, I do believe, to his illness.
He did,
and so he is no longer with us. But my gosh, I mean, talk about just smart, being really smart. In fact, we're joking. Hannibal Lecter versus John Kramer, who would win? Pitting them both against each other. They're almost equal in intelligence.
They are some of the most intelligent, horror icons, iconic villains that I came across. And the thing that I found so fascinating researching this, and I'm really glad that, that you guys really asked me to look into this, because I wasn't necessarily going to do this. It's not what I do, is profile fictional characters. But what I found really ubiquitous across all the horror genres is that, like Eric, like you were saying, there's something relatable, right, about that villain. Even Hannibal Lecter, there's something relatable.
You got to have that because, deep down inside of us, each and every one of us, and our lower brain is a killer.
Well, and we also want revenge against those people that we feel have wronged us. And Jigsaw is one of those, he is seeking some sort of moral justice. Well, even if it's skewed and weird.
Evidently, Jigsaw never got the memo that the best revenge is living well.
Yeah, good point. Well, he didn't have long to live,
That is true. Yeah, you're right, though. He was figuring, lights up for me anyway, so I might as well take as many of these morons as I can take with me.
Was there a specific incident that triggered him? Boy, that's the big term these days. My kids use it, ironically. I'm triggered. Oh, I'm triggered. Oh, I'm triggered.
Yeah, just trip my trigger.
You're triggering me. You are triggering me right now. I'm hearing this all the time. Anyway, was there something specific? Was this a gradual path from way back, or was he really okay as he appeared to be until something specific happened? Was the suicide attempt, or was it the divorce? Was there one thing, or was it a series of things? What are your thoughts on how he ended up being this person?
Well, I think that he was probably, this is going to sound bad, but I think he was probably sort of always this person. He had to have psychopathic tendencies to do what he did. So my guess is that, he was kind of always this person underneath, but he found somebody that he could relate to in Jill, somebody that made him a better person. And he was looking forward to having a child with her, and when that got taken away from him, he felt very cheated. And so my guess is that is what was the trigger, because I think that John Kramer himself would say it was the suicide attempt that was the trigger, but suicide, especially driving off of a cliff, is violence toward the self. He is already committing violence at that point.
Yeah.
So when you're already trying to off yourself, which is violent, what I consider violence toward the self, the trigger was before that. So I've had people say to me that they were violent because they attempted suicide and it didn't work, and I'm like, no, you were violent before that.
Well, yeah, generally they are, and it's mostly. Have you noticed that there are not very many female serial killers in cinema?
There aren't, and it's well, okay. Here's the hard part I think about women is that women's victims tend to be children or weaker women.
That
Eileen
true.
Vernos is an exception to that. You know, as a true serial killer, Eileen Vernos is definitely the exception. There are many women serial killers out there. Many, many, many. Yeah. Most of their victims tend to be children.
Yeah. Well, they do. You're correct. Usually,
and I think it's too hard. It's too hard to fictionalize that and have the audience stomach it.
Well, you have to have some. Even Michael Myers, like we said, there is some compassion towards the character. You know, we all have had that moment where we'd be just so mad we could kill. You know, but of course we have our normal, rational brain kicks in, saying, well, you know, A, it's not worth the prison time, and B, you know, could you live with yourself afterwards?
Well, there's horror, the horror genre. Like I hate when people down the horror genre of films. You know, like they're stupid or they're bad entertainment or whatever, because they really are modern sort of parables about. They're morality tales. They're about ethics. They're about virtues, you know, because virgins, you know, are typically not necessarily a target. Well, people that are not virginal are.
Yeah.
It's a modern morality tale. They're more complex than people give them credit for.
Do you think that like a movie like a Friday the 13th where it's just Jason Voorhees murdering people, do you think in some ways, somewhere in our brain, in our subconscious, we're vicariously living through that character?
Oh, yeah, we have to be. Humans are... that's the weird part about society now. People worrying about video games, worrying about, you know, like we were talking about The Walking Dead earlier, you know, worrying about that being on television. One of the reasons that I do not worry about that kind of thing is because as humans, we are violent.
Yeah.
We are an apex predator. And when you look at historical times, even going back to Victorian times, which was not that long ago, there was so much more blood and gore and violence on a daily basis in their faces. So watching The Walking Dead, the only thing I'm concerned about is that now we're removed from it. That concerns me.
Yeah, we are away from, you know, that time in history where, you know, the guillotine was in vogue and things were just horrific. Where I was reading an article, someone had written, he was a psychologist saying, you know, at one point in not American, but in world history as humans, disembowelings were very common in the town square.
Yes, well, and mental institutions, if you could call them that, were more like dungeons with big picture windows where people could walk by and observe the person being either, you know, in restraints or in an isolation box. I mean, it was terribly brutal, but at the same time, you weren't removed from it by a computer screen or a television screen. It was right there in front of you. It was a neighbor, a friend, or somebody that someone knew. There was a humanity to it.
Do we as humans need that, though? Do we need the horror genre? Because there is this inherited lust for blood to some extent?
Well, we don't do anything violent anymore. We're not allowed to. Like, kids aren't allowed to. Well, no, kids aren't allowed to push each other down on the playground anymore.
That is true. There is no more backyard fights. There is no after-school fights. No,
I mean, come on. You know, like a kid can't play tag and accidentally push another kid down anymore because their parents will get charged with assault.
Well, you know, this is the age of everybody gets a trophy for participating, that everyone's equal, and that there should be no pecking order. And I remember being a young guy in the 1990s when I was in high school. It was fairly common to see an after-school brawl between two guys duking it out.
And the other thing that people are missing, and that I don't like other, you know, mental health professionals talking about, the participation is important. Okay, I think that's I don't like that because of the fact that the reason that people learn where they're supposed to be in life, what they're supposed to do, the whole reason that I'm a geek is because I sucked at sports and everybody told me so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I hear you. I totally get it. I was told I could never shut up. That's why I went on the radio.
But it's instructive. It's instructive. It helps you figure out where you should be in life. And if somebody had told me you get a trophy for participation in softball, God knows.
Clarissa, believe it or not, you might find this shocking. I was the class clown.
No.
Yes, me. I was him. That was me. I was the class clown. I know Eric probably was too.
Yes, I was too.
Yeah, we both were. And look at us now. But moving along with this character,
I was the subversive class clown. You know, it was never the obvious stuff. It's the the under the breath, behind the scenes. Don't get caught.
Gotcha. You're the cautious clown.
I'm the let other people get blamed for it.
Really?
Yeah, you're the guy that snuck up to the pencil sharpener and just made faces, and everybody else got in trouble for laughing.
Not me. I'd say it loud and proud. That was me. I'm the one that did it, and I will take my punishment because the chicks dig it.
You're right about that.
They like the bad boy. But moving on.
But not too bad.
Well, not too bad, but there are limits to being how bad you can be. I mean, But we're talking John Kramer here. Did he ever have any accomplices in his sprees, or was he a solo guy?
Well, that's where Saw got really confusing for me. That was upsetting to me, Joel, when I was trying to do this hypothetical sort of profile, because somebody like John Kramer isn't the type that I would consider to have an accomplice or sort of a protege. It doesn't really fit with a true psychological profile, but as Saw went on, he did.
Yeah, well, that's his God complex. He wanted his work to continue.
Yeah, I can see that, but somebody that was so exacting like he was would be so narcissistic that I would think everyone would fail him.
No, well, you would think so. You would think so. I mean, that threw me for a loop as well, because I thought for sure, Saw 2 came along, and then they started putting accomplices. I thought, wow, this guy that is supposed to be uber smart, outsmarting Danny Glover of all people. Poor Danny Glover. Outsmarting the police, taunting the police to some extent, where they're finding these bodies, finding them in warehouses, whatnot. But yet he's going to be brave enough and maybe open himself up to having an accomplice that could blow up in his face. You would have thought that he would have been way more cautious than that.
I agree. The only thing that fits with a profile for me with that is because he was terminally ill, he might be willing to open himself up to more risk, because he's going to die anyway, so he has nothing to lose in that way. So that could kind of fit, but I still think it's a stretch.
Could you imagine what kind of celebrity he'd be once he hit prison with other killers? They'd be like, yes, you're like my God, man.
Well, speaking of that, I want to get back to the people that have all these morbid Jigsaw tattoos.
Yes, you were saying that.
Google it on the internet, or don't, because it's creepy. But there are all these. When I was doing my research to do these profiles, I was looking at all the pictures and different things. There are all these people that have the jigsaw piece of flesh.
Oh my Lord,
they
do.
They do. That was taken out of the skin in the movie, and I was actually kind of shocked by that.
Wow. I'm Googling it right now, and people have really gotten creative with it.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really kind of scary.
So why would they do that? Please explain that to me. I've never gotten that. I don't worship at the feet of killers and evil.
Do you have a tattoo at least?
I have no tattoo.
I have tattoos. Okay.
I do too, but not that would glorify a killer. And the only thing that I can think is, you know what? Okay, so have you guys seen the Boondock Saints?
I have. Norman Reedus is in it.
Yes.
Yes, he is. And I've seen multiple tattoos with that, the Equitas Veritas, truth and justice. I've seen multiple tattoos, and technically they are serial killers. They are, Boondock Saints. So I think it is the idea that Jigsaw represents a sort of a truth and a justice. That's all I can think.
Yeah, I see you. I'm following you down this path, but my gosh, talk about going about the wrong way.
Yeah, I know, especially the more gruesome ones where it really looks like a piece of their flesh was taken out. I mean, to me, I see what they're trying to represent, but doesn't that represent the fact that you didn't survive one of his puzzles and now you're dead and he took a piece?
True. Now, in the movies, they never show a profiler after him.
No.
You know, it's not like there is a yin to the yang. There is no Starling after him. There is no good guy, so to speak, in any of this. It's not like, you know, other than the police, of course, which is show, and he dispatches them. But there's none of these, you know, like, yes, this is the Jigsaw killer again. You know what I mean? There's no hero to bond to.
Well, but that's the thing that made it so interesting with Jigsaw, is that they're trying to make him both. He's also the hero. He's the villain and the hero of his own story, because he only goes after, he's the only person that, he picks people that he feels don't deserve to live.
Yeah, he's the tortured hero, is what he is. Which is...
Does this mean that under the surface, a high percentage of us really wish that we were vigilantes, or that there was a more common more common instances of vigilante justice? I mean, do people not remember lynching? That's not even 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, but I also know from being on the inside of it how the system works, how slowly it works.
Oh, God, yeah.
And how justice is often not meted out. I cannot tell you how many times I've read, I mean, this is literally every day of my working life, that I am reading reports about gentlemen who have had charges dismissed completely, quote, in the interest of justice. So just to get them convicted of a different crime, they have that piece dropped. And if you are the father of, it's typically a sexual crime.
Yeah.
So if you're the father of one of these women who have been raped, dropping that charge in the interest of justice, it makes me mad too.
Well, you know, the thing of it is vigilante justice is instant. You know, it would be a much more polite environment in America, or anywhere really, where if you could be held responsible almost instantly for your crime.
Justice should be swift, and that's what people don't understand. I'm not talking like ignoring due process. That's wrong. And vigilante justice, although really satisfying, is also wrong.
It is wrong. Absolutely it is.
It's wrong, but I think that the system needs to become a lot faster than it is, because justice, when it's meted out many, many years later, it's not effective.
You know, when I was going to college, I took some history courses, Old West history courses.
Oh.
And I was really interested because my family came from Sturgis, South Dakota, which is right in the heart of the Old West. And it was interesting to read about how they treated people. But back in those days, if you were convicted of, let's just say, murder, they would grab you and take you to the gallows. You know, they were not interested in a lot of my, what I read, were not interested in doing appeals and this and that. When the judge's gavel fell, that was it. You were done.
Right, and even up until, even in quote-unquote civilized times after the Old West, it was usually only a matter of weeks or months before somebody was put to death.
Now they're 20 years, 25 years.
People die of old age, especially in California. Almost all of the guys on death row die of old age.
And that's maddening for most of us looking in, especially the victims and their families. Here they are,
what I've seen more than once, and this almost makes me cry to think about, is people that have put videos in their wills because they know that the killer will outlive them. So every time there's a parole hearing, it gets played at the parole hearing because they know that the killer will live longer.
That's horrible. Okay, we only have about a minute left, and Jigsaw, basically, he dies, of course, in the movie series, but the moral of the story is life is precious. That's supposed to be the moral of the story, but really what it became is revenge is also served up really sweet when it's cold. Is one of the morals of that story too. You know, that you should be living better, otherwise he will take revenge for your misdeeds.
Yes.
You know. So anyhow, Clarissa, we've got about a minute left. How can people read both articles? Where can they go?
They can read them by going to www.thecriminalcode.com. Both profiles are up right now.
Cool. I'm going to be reading those again on the website. I enjoyed reading them. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for doing so much work. You went above and beyond profiling these folks.
Thank you. Very fun.
Oh, it was. On behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, read along with Mr. Eric Olsen over there in Studio B. Let's call it Studio B from now on, Eric. We thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. Take care of each other, love each other, and gosh darn it, stay away from puzzle pieces.